My father demanded a DNA test for my grandfather's inheritance. I'd been the family disappointment for 23 years, while my perfect older brother Kyle got everything handed to him. When Grandpa died and left me his house and his will, Dad absolutely lost it. "There's no way that senile old man left you anything," he snarled, pacing around our kitchen like a caged animal. "You're probably not even my real son anyway. Your mother was sleeping around before we got married." My brother Kyle smirked from the corner. "Yeah, remember how wild Mom was back in college?" Dad's got a point. My stepmother Linda chimed in with that fake sweet voice she always used. "Honey, we just want what's fair for the real family. You understand, right? They gave me 48 hours to take a paternity test, or they'd challenge the will in court." The whole extended family was already texting about it in the group chat, calling me a fraud and a bastard. Here's what none of them knew. I'd been secretly taking care of Grandpa for the past 2 years while they all ignored him. Every single doctor's appointment when his arthritis got bad. Every grocery run when he couldn't drive anymore. Every lonely evening when he just wanted someone to talk to about Grandma. I also knew about the second will he'd written just 3 months before he died. The next morning, Dad changed the locks on Grandpa's house. When I showed up with my key, I couldn't get in. My stuff was piled on the front lawn in garbage bags. "You're trespassing," Dad yelled from the window. "This is family property until you prove you belong here." I called the police. Within an hour, Officer Ortiz was standing in the driveway reading the will. "Sir, according to this legal document, your son owns this property. You're the one trespassing." Dad's face went red as they made him give me the new keys. The neighbors were all watching from their windows. Test day arrived at the family lawyer's office. The whole crew showed up like it was some kind of celebration. Dad wore his best suit and kept checking his Rolex, probably already planning how to spend what he thought would be his inheritance money. Kyle brought his new girlfriend to show off. "You're about to see how we handle fake family members," he told her loudly. Linda kept taking selfies, probably planning to post about their victory later. Uncle Robert and Aunt Deborah drove in from 2 states away just to witness my humiliation. The family group chat had been buzzing for days about this showdown. The DNA results came back after the longest hour of my life, 99.9% match. I was definitely Dad's biological son. Dad's victory dance and high fives with Kyle lasted exactly 10 seconds. However, the lawyer continued, clearing his throat, "There's something else the family needs to know about. Your grandfather actually left a second, more recent will that supersedes the first one." The room went dead silent. You could hear Linda's phone camera clicking. I pulled out my phone and played a video I'd recorded with Grandpa just weeks before he passed. His shaky but determined voice filled the entire office. "To my son Harold and his family who abandoned me in my final years, who only called when they needed money, you get absolutely nothing. To my grandson Noah, who stayed by my side, who drove me to chemo appointments, who held my hand when I was scared, the house, the life insurance, the savings account, everything is yours. You earned every penny through love, not blood." Dad's face turned completely white, then red, then purple. "That's not legally binding. He was senile." "Actually," the lawyer smiled, sliding papers across the table, "it's perfectly legal. Signed, witnessed, and notarized just 3 months ago when his mind was completely sound. I have medical records to prove his mental competency." Kyle started yelling about how unfair it was. "This is bullshit. We're his real family." Linda was frantically texting, probably trying to spin this disaster to her friends. Uncle Robert just sat there with his mouth hanging open. I stood up slowly, looking each of them in the eyes. "Thanks for making this so public, Dad. Now everyone in the family knows exactly who you really are. Grandpa always said actions speak louder than words." As I walked toward the door with my copy of the will, Dad grabbed my arm. "This isn't over. I'll sue you for everything." I smiled and pulled out another document. "Actually, it is over. This is Grandpa's final letter to you. Want me to read it out loud?" His grip loosened. I shook free and headed for the exit. "You're dead to me," he screamed. I turned back one last time. "Funny. That's exactly what Grandpa said about you." The last thing I heard was Linda sobbing about their reputation as the door closed behind me.